Well, thank you so much. For those of you who have resisted to be here, I'm Dr. Javier Perez Fernandez. I'm the president of the World Federation of Intensive and Critical Care. And it's my honor to end, to farewell this event. This is one of the most magnificent events that is transmitted live to many countries for over 16 hours, non-interrupted time, and that's been happening for the last 9 years. This is the 9th edition of something that is really, really important for the medical community. I'm going to share some of the slides with you, and at some point during this last session, I'm going to switch languages to Spanish. Now, it is again my honor to discuss these closing remarks. And again, the World Day of Critical Lung is one of the most fantastic events that I can think of regarding critical care. Live transmission, completely free, international speakers. Now, this virtual access from everywhere, and it's recorded, and it will be available to all of you to look at the content of the sessions for a long time. Now, it's important to mention that when we talk about the lung, the critical lung, we need to think about how important is the critical lung in critically ill patients. Now, this is obviously one of the representation of ICUs, probably one of the first ICUs that we've seen during the polio pandemic, and then follow with massive ICUs during the same pandemic, during the same episodes that happened both in Europe and America that were definitely require significant trained personnel, attention to the detail, and critical maintenance for those patients. Now, the critical lung is the #1 reason for admission to the ICU. There's no question about it. Respiratory failure without ventilatory support is more than half of the cases that are being admitted to the ICU. And it's also the top cause of mortality in ICU. In addition, we all know, and we talk about this extensively today, how ARDS modifies survival for patients on the ICU. So when you look into the World Health Organization and its list of the 10 most common causes of mortality, think about it. COVID-19, which was definitely a reason for mortality affecting the lungs, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, lower respiratory infection, trachea, bronchus, and lung cancers, and tuberculosis. Now, 5 out of the 10 causes are related to the respiratory system. So this is critical lung. So if we don't want to understand this topic, it's obviously we're falsely hiding a major evidence to us. The lungs are important, the lungs are critical, and managing the critical lung becomes an essence for the intensivists. That's why today we're celebrating again the 9th edition of the World Day of the Critical Lung. This is a major effort, editorial effort. Thank you, this Tribuna. Thank you, the sponsors. You see some of the sponsors there. I don't want to forget anyone. They're all listed on the website. Please, thank you, all of them. There's also a major sponsorship with the FEPIMCTI, which is the Pan American and Iberian Federation of Intensive and Critical Care, as well as the World Federation of Intensive and Critical Care that I represent. Thank you to the Global Organizing Committee. Cambio el lenguaje para de nuevo expresar la gran
And I changed
participación.
languages to participate the large international participation that the event has, high scientific content with a free participation, sponsored, and I repeat once again, by the 2 large federations, the World Federation of Intensive and Critical Care and the Pan American Federation, and it's bilingual, so much so that the last session is also bilingual. But we're also transmitting it in several languages. The Critical Lung Day, 9th edition this year, has had more than 3,700 people participating that at some point have had a maximum peak of more than 500 people at the same time in 9 sessions with 25 speakers from 16 different countries, with more than 12 uninterrupted hours of transmission, videos, and conferences that will be available, as we mentioned. And these are example of data, participation data, very important because naturally we continue having 2/3 of the participation in the Spanish language and a third in the English language. So of course, it's something that perhaps we should understand for the future and attract the English-speaking population. But it's important to point out that 84 countries have been represented in this participation, and this is truly significant. This is an example. We don't have all of them. Up to 84 countries have had active participation, people that have come in at a specific moment of the transmission and have remained listening to our speakers, asking questions, participating, and questions of high scientific value, and questions that we all learn from. So the map points our large participation, and this map reflects the participation of the different societies in the World Federation that without a doubt we feel very proud to represent and represent this event. That is one of the most important event or the most important event in terms of time transmitted worldwide or globally and live through internet, and it updates us and allows us to collaborate, cooperate, and attend to many of our patients' needs. The future, a successful 9th edition like this one should promote an even better 10th edition in November 2026. We should take advantage of all the resources of the federations that are involved, of the sponsors, and also each one of your societies, each one of those societies that has been responsible for each one of the sessions and the presentations, and look for greater penetration in the areas where we have not had it, perhaps the Asian, African, and other English-speaking areas, and of course also to promote it in our own federations. This is the future. It doesn't mean that the present is not brilliant. It is. But we want this activity to remain over time, to be a reference in the management of patients with pulmonary problems and that require critical care. But I will say goodbye with this, and I will say goodbye applauding all those that have cooperated actively or passively in this activity. This activity that without a doubt marks a milestone in the scientific dissemination of disease and critical care. Thank you all. We hope to see you next year with better content, more content, and more participation. Thank you all and greetings.